Hello, my name is Alyssa.
Hello, my name is Diana Campos, and we're gonna explain our model, which is the cost of a party or the total cost of a party, or variable numbers or random variables are number of guests and food carrying per person. For food carrying per person distribution, we use a uniform distribution basically, which is the values that we use. It was from 35 to 45, meaning that the value that we're looking for or the random variable is always going to be between those two numbers. For that, we use a formula that it's A plus B minus A times a random number. And this random number could be the probability between 0 and 1. So every time our model updates or we close and open the page, we're going to get a different result for food carrying per person. And then for the number of guests, we decided to use a probability distribution. We did create a probability column that adds up to 1. That's usually based on historical data. We then calculated the lower, we needed to recreate a VLOOKUP table because for the VLOOKUP formula, the value that we're looking, you always go to the first column. So that's why we needed to move them around to put the lower bound first, because we want to get that number in order to guess the number of guests. For the lower bound, we constructed as it always start with 0. Then the following upper bound is going to be our first probability. And then the second lower bound, it's going to be equal to the upper bound before. And then for the upper bound, what's going to happen is it's going to be the probability of that number plus the lower bound basically of that same row. And once we get that, we can just copy and paste it to the bottom of our table, and just to make sure, it's always need to add to 1. So that's a way to know that it's correct or no. And then for the third column, we're gonna put the number of guests, which is basically the number that we want to get in based on the probability. So going back to the number of guests in our model, the function that we used was the VLOOKUP. The first thing or the first value is gonna be a random number between 0 and 1. That's gonna be generated by that for function. And then that value generated there, Excel or the function is going to look it up in the first column of our VLOOKUP table, which is going to be in the lower bound, and it's going to return to us the number of guesses, which is the third column. And in this case, we got 600 right now, meaning the value is probably between 0.6 and 0.85, the value that was generated by the random.
For our data table, we used a empty cell to get the random numbers all the way down to 54. And then we used the data table to compute the summary statistics, the mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, first quartile, third quartile, and median. And then we use this to compute our box plot. So our box plot, it shows our mean and the median in the middle and the maximums at the top, minimums at the bottom. And then the quartiles will be where this box, it's like this dot right here, where it's close to 5,000. The first one is right above 30,000. And we were originally using this table the frequency table to compute our histogram, but it wasn't working, so you allowed us to use our data table to make the histogram. And yeah, this is the distribution matched up with the numbers here. And yeah, that's our Monte Carlo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's stop.